Listen to me, the world changes faster than you think. One day, all the pressure is on you, and the next, it's shifted somewhere else. Imagine this. The most powerful nation starts turning its focus, putting weight on India, and suddenly Pakistan is in the position of advantage. That's how life works. Alliances, politics, business, they can all flip in a second. If you're not prepared, if you're not strong inside and out, you will be crushed when the tide turns. But if you build yourself, if you become unstoppable, no shift in the world can break you. Power and alliances can shift overnight. And this is one of the most brutal realities in both politics and life. You might think that the forces aligned with you today will stay loyal forever, but history proves over and over that loyalty is rarely permanent. One day you're the favored partner, the trusted ally, the one in the spotlight. And the next day circumstances change, deals are rewritten, and those who once stood beside you can turn their focus elsewhere. It doesn't always happen because of betrayal or bad intentions. Sometimes it's simply because priorities evolve, opportunities open up, or new threats emerge. In the world of nations, this shift can be sudden and shocking. A country that has been under heavy political or economic pressure can find the heat lifting overnight because the attention of the powerful has moved to someone else. At the same time, another nation previously overlooked can suddenly be at the center of international favor and opportunity. That's how quickly the tide can turn. When you imagine this scenario on a global scale, think of what happens between major powers. A nation might be facing years of sanctions, criticism, and diplomatic cold shoulders, and then almost instantly, the climate changes, new agreements are signed, trade channels reopen, and suddenly old enemies are shaking hands. Similarly, a country that has long enjoyed favor might find itself on the receiving end of pressure, demands, and scrutiny because a stronger alliance has been formed with its rival. This kind of shift can happen in the blink of an eye because politics, like life, is about constant motion. Leaders come and go, economies rise and fall, and priorities keep shifting. Nothing is guaranteed. The same pattern plays out in personal relationships and professional settings. You might have a friend, a colleague, or a business partner or a business partner who's loyal and supportive today, but life throws challenges and their loyalty may be tested. Maybe they find a new partner, a better opportunity, or their own goals simply change direction. Suddenly, the dynamics between you shift. The comfort of having their support is gone, replaced by uncertainty or even opposition. If you've built your confidence and your plans solely around their presence, you will feel the shock when they are no longer there. But if you've prepared yourself for independence, their absence becomes an adjustment, not a disaster. This is why understanding the nature of shifting alliances is critical. It prevents you from taking any current advantage for granted. Whether you are a leader of a nation, the head of a business, or simply someone striving for success in life, you must see alliances for what they are, temporary arrangements based on mutual interest. When those interests no longer align, the alliance will dissolve or transform. That's why the most resilient people and nations are those who can stand on their own strength. They use alliances as tools, not as crutches. They appreciate support when it's there, but are ready to continue without it when it's gone. The danger lies in believing that the current state will last forever. Comfort can lull you into complacency. You stop innovating, stop strengthening yourself, and start depending too much on the support of others. Then, when the inevitable change comes, you find yourself unprepared. Those who have studied history or lived through major upheavals know that change rarely announces itself in advance. The day before the shift, everything might look the same. You might even believe you have years of stability ahead. But then one phone call, one meeting, one signed agreement, or one global crisis changes the map entirely. This is why mental flexibility and readiness are so important. If you understand that alliances can shift overnight, you won't be caught off guard. You'll remain vigilant, always watching for signs of change, always building your own resources and capabilities so that no external shift can destroy your foundation. You'll adapt quickly when the change comes because you were never entirely dependent on the way things were. In fact, you might even benefit from the change if you've positioned yourself well, ready to step into the new reality while others are still reeling from the shock. Ultimately, the lesson is simple but hard to live by. Accept that the world operates in cycles of favor and disfavor. The hands that lift you up today might be the same that pull away tomorrow. Nations know this, leaders know this, and anyone who has experienced real-life challenges knows this. The key is to never let your security depend entirely on an alliance, because when the winds shift, and they will, you need to be able to stand on your own feet. If you are prepared for the day the favor disappears, you will survive it. If you are prepared for the day the alliance breaks, you will rise from it stronger. And when the shift happens overnight, you won't waste time asking why. You'll already be moving forward into the next battle. Global politics mirrors personal life struggles in more ways than most people realize. On the surface, the two worlds seem completely different. One is about nations, borders, treaties, and economies, while the other is about families, friendships, careers, and personal ambitions. But when you strip away the scale and the details, the underlying dynamics are remarkably similar. Both are driven by interests, power, trust, competition, and the constant negotiation of relationships. Both involve periods of stability and moments of upheaval. And in both, you often face challenges that test your strength, patience, and adaptability. What happens between countries is a magnified version of what happens between individuals. And if you understand this parallel, you can learn lessons from one that will help you in the other. In politics, nations constantly navigate complex relationships. They form alliances, make promises, and work together towards shared goals. But every nation is also looking out for itself, making sure its own interests are protected. This is exactly how life works on a personal level. You might have friends or colleagues who support you, celebrate your wins, and offer help when you need it. But at the same time, They have their own lives, their own ambitions, and their own challenges. If your paths align, you can work together smoothly. If they don't, the relationship changes, sometimes subtly, sometimes drastically. Just like countries, people make decisions based on what benefits them or aligns with their goals. It's not always selfishness, it's simply survival. The conflicts you see between nations often start the same way personal disputes do. Misunderstandings grow, promises are broken, or one side feels taken advantage of. In politics, this might lead to trade wars, sanctions, or even military action. In personal life, it can lead to arguments, broken trust, and separation. The triggers are similar. Someone feels that their value has not been recognized, their boundaries have been crossed, or their needs have been ignored. On both levels, when communication fails and egos harden, the situation escalates. It's why diplomacy is so important in both arenas. A well-timed conversation, a sincere apology, or a fair compromise can prevent a relationship, whether between nations or between friends, from collapsing completely. There's also the element of competition. Countries compete for resources, influence, and strategic advantage. Individuals compete for jobs, opportunities, recognition, and even affection. Sometimes the competition is open and friendly, pushing both sides to grow stronger. Other times, it becomes bitter and destructive, with one side trying to undermine the other. In both cases, the competition reveals character. Some rise above and maintain integrity, while others resort to manipulation and sabotage. Learning to navigate competition with strength and fairness is a skill that serves you well no matter the scale. Another parallel lies in how crises are handled. When nations face disasters, economic collapse, natural catastrophes, or conflicts, the true leadership qualities of their leaders are revealed. In personal life, when you face a crisis, losing a job, going through a breakup, or dealing with illness, your own inner leadership is tested. Do you panic and lose control, or do you adapt, make plans, and move forward? In both worlds, those who can remain calm under pressure and find solutions gain respect and influence. Those who collapse or blame others often lose ground permanently. Trust is another thread that runs through both politics and personal life. Once it's broken, rebuilding it is hard, sometimes impossible. Nations that betray agreements find it difficult to gain allies in the future, and individuals who betray trust face the same isolation. On the other hand, those who consistently honor their word build reputations that last decades. In both cases, trust is a currency, and like any currency, it can be spent wisely or wasted recklessly. Perhaps the most striking similarity is the unpredictability of both worlds. In politics, a single event, an election, an economic shock, a sudden conflict can change decades of relationships overnight. In personal life, one conversation, one decision, or one unexpected opportunity can change your entire direction. This is why adaptability is crucial in both of arenas. If you cling too tightly to the way things are, you risk being broken when things change. But if you remain open and flexible, you can use the shifts to your advantage. Understanding that global politics mirrors personal struggles gives you a unique perspective. You start to see the patterns, alliances forming and breaking, trust being built or lost, competition pushing growth or destruction, crises testing character, and the ever-present possibility of sudden change. You realize that the principles of success, resilience, and leadership are the same whether you're dealing with a world leader or a neighbor. And when you apply these lessons from the larger stage to your own life, you become better prepared to handle whatever challenges come your way, because you've learned to see the game for what it really is, a constant negotiation of interests, values, and strength. Strength comes from preparation, not position. Many people confuse the two, thinking that being in a position of power automatically makes them strong. They believe that a high title, wealth, or political influence guarantees security. But history, both in the lives of individuals and in the affairs of nations, shows that position without a preparation is as fragile. A position can be taken away, a title can be stripped, an empire can crumble, and fortunes can vanish. When that happens, those who have relied solely on their position often collapse under the weight of change because they never built the personal strength, skills, and resilience needed to withstand the storm. True strength is built long before it is tested in the countless unseen hours of training, learning, and discipline. In politics, a nation's position on the world stage can shift overnight. One day it enjoys alliances, economic dominance, and influence, and the next it finds itself isolated because of changing priorities, shifting alliances, or unexpected crises. A leader who has relied only on the prestige of their office without preparing their people, economy, and institutions for hard times will watch the nation struggle. Similarly, in personal life, a person may hold a powerful role in a company or a respected place in a community, but if they have not developed the inner discipline and practical skills to adapt, they will crumble when the role is lost. The difference between surviving and falling apart lies in whether you've built your strength on something deeper than your current circumstances. Preparation means more than just expecting the best. It means anticipating challenges, imagining worst-case scenarios, and actively building the capacity to handle them. Athletes know that the hours spent training, often in discomfort and far from the crowd's applause, are what allow them to perform under pressure. Soldiers train for battles they hope they never have to fight. Great leaders study history, strategy, and human behavior long before they face a real crisis. On a personal level, preparation means constantly improving yourself, your knowledge, your skills, your physical health, your emotional resilience. It means having a plan for what you'll do if your current path is blocked, your resources are taken away, or your circumstances change unexpectedly. The danger of relying on position is that it breeds complacency. When things are going well and your status seems secure, it's tempting to relax and assume it will always be this way. Nations fall into this trap when they stop investing in innovation or strengthening their defenses because they believe their current power will protect them forever. People fall into it when they stop learning, stop challenging themselves, and live off past achievements. But the world changes whether you're ready or not. Complacency leaves you vulnerable because it hides the fact that your position is only as secure as the foundation beneath it. Without preparation, that foundation can crack at the first sign of trouble. Preparedness also gives you confidence that position alone cannot provide. A person who has trained themselves, tested themselves, and overcome obstacles knows they can face challenges even if the title or role they hold today disappears tomorrow. This kind of confidence is unshakable because it is not based on external circumstances. You might see it in a business owner who can rebuild after losing everything, or in a skilled craftsman who can find work anywhere because their expertise speaks for itself. In the political world, it's the difference between a nation that collapses when its alliances shift and one that adapts and thrives because it has cultivated self-reliance and internal strength. Another important truth is that preparation is ongoing. Strength is not something you acquire once and keep forever without effort. It's a living quality that it must be maintained. The world keeps changing, and so must you. Technologies evolve, political landscapes shift, and new challenges arise. A prepared person or nation is always learning, always improving, and always watching the horizon for what's coming and next. They are not paranoid, but they are realistic. They don't waste energy wishing the world would stay the same. They build the capacity to adapt when it inevitably changes. When you see someone standing in a high position, it's easy to assume their strength comes from where they stand. But the real test is what happens when that position is stripped away. Do they still stand tall, or do they collapse? That moment reveals whether their power was built on genuine preparation or on the illusion of status. Those who have prepared, who have trained their mind, their body, and their spirit can face any change with confidence. They know that strength is not about holding a position. It's about being ready for whatever comes next. Never depend on external favor for survival, because the moment your well-being relies entirely on the approval, support, or goodwill of others, you've surrendered control over your own future. This truth applies to individuals, businesses, and even entire nations. Favor can be given, but it can just as easily be taken away. History is full of examples where leaders, communities, and countries thrived for a time under the sponsorship or protection of a stronger power, only to collapse the moment that support disappeared. In personal life, you might experience this when a job, a relationship, or a business's partnership becomes your only source of stability. As long as it's there, you feel secure. But the moment it's gone, you realize you were never truly secure at all. You were dependent. When you rely on external favor, you also expose yourself to manipulation. Those who provide the favor can influence your decisions, limit your freedom, and even force you into compromises you would never accept if you were independent. This happens in politics when weaker nations rely too heavily on the economic aid or military protection of a stronger one. The stronger nation gains leverage, dictating terms and influencing internal policies. On a smaller scale, this happens in personal relationships when one person becomes financially or emotionally dependent on another, allowing the other to control key aspects of their life. In both cases, dependency becomes a trap. The comfort you feel is not real stability. It's a temporary arrangement that can turn into vulnerability the moment the giver decides to withdraw their support. Another danger is the false sense of permanence that favor can create. When someone or something is supporting you consistently, it's easy to believe it will always be that way. You start planning your life around the assumption that the support will never end. Nations do this when they build their entire economy around trade, preferences, or aid packages from one partner, instead of diversifying and strengthening their own systems. Individuals do it when they stop developing their skills because as they assume their current job, investor or benefactor will always be there. This false sense of security can be more dangerous than open struggle because it makes you blind to the risks you're facing. You don't prepare for the day the favor ends because you've convinced yourself it never will. The truth is, even the strongest alliances, friendships, or business relationships are built on shifting ground. Interests change, people change, circumstances change. The favor you enjoy today might be redirected tomorrow towards someone else who offers more, needs less maintenance, or aligns better with the giver's goals. This is not necessarily malicious, it's simply how life and politics work. In a world where priorities shift constantly, you cannot build your survival strategy on something you do not control. The only stability you can truly count on is the one you build for yourself. Building independence doesn't mean rejecting help or isolating yourself from alliances and relationships. It means using them wisely while ensuring you could still stand on your own if they disappeared. For nations, this means developing self-reliant industries, strengthening internal systems, and cultivating multiple alliances so that the loss of one is not a disaster. For individuals, it means saving money, learning transferable skills, and maintaining a network of connections rather than relying on a single source of support. This approach doesn't just protect you, it also changes the way others see you. People and nations that are self-reliant are respected more because they cannot be easily controlled. When you don't depend entirely on external favor, you gain the freedom to make choices that align with your own values and goals rather than being forced into decisions that serve someone else's interests. You are able to walk away from situations that no longer serve you without a fear of losing your entire foundation. This freedom is priceless because it allows you to act with integrity and confidence instead of desperation. The final and perhaps most important reason to avoid dependence on external favor is that it builds resilience. When you know you can survive without anyone's special treatment, you approach challenges differently. Setbacks become obstacles to overcome rather than fatal blows. You learn to adapt quickly, to innovate, and to find new paths forward. This resilience is what allows people, businesses, and nations to survive in times of crisis. It's the difference between those who collapse when support is withdrawn and those who barely miss a step. favor can be a blessing, but survival must come from strength you've built yourself. Build resilience to thrive in any climate, because the world will never be a place of constant calm or perfect conditions. Life is full of cycles, seasons of growth, seasons of difficulty, moments of opportunity, and periods of struggle. If your ability to succeed depends entirely on everything going your way, you will fail the moment the winds change. But if you cultivate resilience, you develop the capacity to keep moving forward no matter what is happening around you. Resilience is not about avoiding challenges. It's about facing them without breaking. It's about having the strength to adapt, the patience to endure, and the mindset to keep learning, and even when things seem impossible. In the realm of nations, resilience determines whether a country can withstand economic downturns, natural disasters, shifting alliances, or sudden political changes. Some countries crumble under pressure because they were built on fragile systems that could only function in stable times. Others survive and even grow stronger because they have prepared their people, infrastructure, and leadership to adapt to crisis. On a personal level, the same principle applies. People who have never tested their limits, who have never faced discomfort, often struggle when life suddenly demands more from them. But those who have trained themselves to handle uncertainty can navigate even the most difficult situations with clarity and purpose. Resilience is built in the small, everyday moments long before the big tests come. Every time you face a setback and choose to keep going, you are strengthening it. Every time you refuse to quit in the face of frustration, you are building it. Resilience grows when you choose discipline over comfort, when you solve problems instead of running from them, and when you keep working toward your goals despite slow progress. It's not something you can buy, inherit, or fake. It's the result of consistent effort and a willingness to face reality without fear. One of the keys to resilience is adaptability. You cannot control the climate, whether that climate is political, economic, or personal, but you can control how you respond to it. When a situation changes, you have two choices: resist the change and be broken by it, or adapt and find a way to turn it to your advantage. In business, this means adjusting strategies when markets shift. In personal life, it might mean letting go of a plan that no longer works and finding a better path. Adaptability doesn't mean abandoning your principles. It means finding new methods to reach your purpose when old methods fail. Another aspect of resilience is emotional strength. Hard times will test you mentally as much as they test you physically or materially. If you allow frustration, fear, or anger to control you, you will make poor decisions that make the situation worse. Emotional resilience allows you to stay calm under pressure, to think clearly when others panic, and to keep your focus on what can be done rather than what has been lost. This is often what separates those who survive challenges from those who are destroyed by them. A strong mind can find solutions even in chaos, while a weak one collapses under stress. Resilience also comes from having a clear purpose. When you know why you are enduring hardship, you can push through more than you ever thought possible. Purpose gives meaning to struggle and turns obstacles into steps towards something greater. Without a clear purpose, even small challenges feel overwhelming. With it, even great challenges become fuel for growth. Nations that understand their long-term vision can endure short-term losses. Individuals who have a strong why can endure setbacks and still keep moving forward because they see beyond the moment. Resilience is not built overnight. It comes from a lifetime of preparation, from deliberately putting yourself in situations that stretch your limits, from learning skills that make you self-reliant, and from maintaining the belief that you can overcome whatever comes. You cannot predict every storm, but you can prepare yourself to survive any storm. That preparation, physical, mental, and emotional, is what allows you to thrive in climates that destroy others. The truth is, resilience is the ultimate freedom. When you know you can adapt, endure, and rebuild no matter what happens, you are no longer at the mercy of circumstances. You stop waiting for perfect conditions and start making progress in any conditions. You stop fearing change because you know that change cannot break you. In a world where nothing stays the same for long, resilience is not just an advantage, it is a necessity. And when you have it, no climate, no challenge, and no storms can stop you from moving forward toward the life you are determined to build.